Once again, I greet you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on the kinds of words, followed by picking up on the first type of a word, which is the ism, and then looking at the properties of the ism and how to identify an ism. Some of the things also that you might not be told in the classroom, but as a result of your continuous usage or practice of the language, particularly the Nahu aspect of the language, you become conversant with the fact that some of those things can really be used to add more to your understanding of the language of Al-Quran. And so today, without much, I would like to recap yesterday what we did with regards kalima. We said that in Arabic, the language itself is structured on 3 levels or 3 stratas, if you will. The level of the kalima at the top. In fact, it's supposed to be top down, but we have to put the kalima at the top. That's because that is where it all starts from. If you are able to identify the words, then you will know that there are only 3 kinds: ism, fi'l, harf. Followed by, okay, there are times where you see 2 words, kalimatan, but they both give, or they have the same concept. So you deal with both of them as if they are one. So we call them fragments. So, and there are 5 of them. That is the second level. And then the last level, which is the level of jumla, sentence. And there too, you have only 2 types. Now, every day, I will try as much as possible to remind you this, because actually, if it is only when you remind yourself of the structure of the language that you are able to do your analysis, intact, because you know exactly what you are looking for. If I give you an ayah and I ask you to tell me the meaning or tell me do analysis of it grammatically, quickly the structure will come to your mind that, okay, what am I looking at? Words, fragments, sentences. So before even I know it's a sentence, I must be looking at the words. Within the words can either be fi'l, ism, fi'l, or harf. Then from there, we move into knowing these 2 kalimats, fragments. Okay, these ones, two of them are supposed to be considered as one. These 2 are also one grammatically. These 2 are also one. Okay, then I can then put together and say, okay, the whole of this is a sentence, and within that sentence, I have 2, 3, 4 fragments, and so on. With that, you would be able to start seeing the meaning of what you are reading directly from the Arabic as a result of you knowing those rules. So basically we say, yes, we can still learn Quran without necessarily speaking the language Arabic. And all we have to do is to understand the concepts and how the language is structured. Yesterday I was sharing and saying that the language needs to be easy, because Allah says it is easy. The language of Al-Quran I am talking about, not Arabic language as everybody might want me to say. It's not Arabic language. Arabic language as a language might be difficult, but that of Al-Quran is well structured that you just need to know those rules and qawaid, and you are okay to go. Because all the ayat are made up of 2 kinds of sentences, ismiya or fi'liya, right? But then for me, I just need to know, okay, how can I know the jumla ismiya and fi'liya? And then I will know what components or what are inside that jumla fi'liya or ismiya. I'm done. I mean, the vocabularies actually will come by time or with time. I mean, but if you want to just speak the language, well, just perform wudu to say from two nafila and have a visa to Saudi Arabia or Egypt. You just need 3 months and you will start speaking the language. But that does not necessarily make you someone who understands the Quran. Because the language you will hear them speaking out there is not the language that currently is in the Quran. You know, so we need to just have that dichotomy for us to really appreciate it when we say we are going to learn the Quran and learn the Quran language. Okay. So with that, I will come back to our topic. All we are looking at is understanding this UAE, brothers. That is all Nahu is all about. When I say Nahu is about UAE and other subsidiaries or other, mulhaqat. Because the UAE are the basics of the Rafa Nasjar, even though there are others that supplement the Rafa Nasjar. But so when I say UAE are the only harakat in Arabic, the rest are either doubling it, elongating it, whatever, of the UAE that we are talking about. So when you talk about UAE, you can have you can have an and in, and then UAE. But basically, it's about the UAE. Or when you talk about the ani, aini, ina, or atun, these are all additions to the basic, which is UAE. So if you like, you can call this a language of UAE, right? So with that, I'm just trying to put the background right, that with ism fail harf, we have a good start yesterday. Ism fail harf. And yesterday we were able to do some practice to identify our ism fail harf. And even when you are reading the Quran, try as much as possible. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. So alhamdu the al, then hamdu li, and then lahi Rabbi al and alamina. So al and alamina can be separated actually. Ar-Rahman is one word because it's the name of Allah. Ar-Rahim is also a name of Allah, so it cannot be separated. Maliki is a one word. Yawmi is another word. Ad-Dini. Iyaka na'budu. Na'budu wa. Separately, Iyaka. And then Nasta'inu. Ihdina. Ihdi is one word. Na is another word. As-Sirata. The Sirat can be separated from the al. Okay? I mean grammatically. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Again, al and mustaqima. Sirata. Alladhina is one word. Note, there is no al, then ladhina. No, it's alladhina. Alladhina is one word. Surat al-mustaqim. Surat alladhina. An'amta. An'amta. An'amta alayhim. Alay and then him. So alayhim is ala and him. غيري المغضوب علي and ala and him wa la الضالين, until you are able to say how many words are actually in Surah Al-Fatiha. From there you will start building up an understanding. Okay, now I would then proceed from there to say, okay, I know ism fil harf. Now I want to concentrate on learning what an ism is. How do I identify an ism? How do I tell this isms, whatever? What about ism? What about ism? Details of an ism today we are going to take. And inshallah, it's going to be quite packed today. But just stay focused. Don't forget where we are. We are on the first strata, kalima. We are taking the first part of the kalima, ism. So we are going to concentrate on the ism the whole of today, inshallah. Okay. So let me share a slide, my slides. Okay, I hope you can see my slide. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Now, again, don't forget, when I talk about ism, I'm saying the one of the three types of kalima, or one of the three parts of speech, if you want to say that. One of the parts of speech of Arabic language is ism. What about this ism? The first thing we learn about ism is that every ism has 4 properties. Now note this very important thing. Today, everything we are going to say about ism is very key, because ism, in fact, is the embodiment of this language. If you know the details about ism, it's very important for us to know that the word ism, in fact, is a great name. Even in our Aqidah, right? We say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started teaching Adam asma kullaha. Wa allama Adama al-asma. That's how it all started. So teaching of ism is very important. And when the Quran started revealing, it said, Ikra bi ismi rabbika. The ism is very important. When you are even writing any detail of yours everywhere, you are asked about your ism first, right? So it's all about ism. And check every surah or every ayah. Most probably every ayah will consist of more ism than any part of any kind of the words. So ism is very important for us to learn. The first thing we learn is that it has 4 properties. Okay? And those 4 properties need to be understood well. What are they? Before we do that, we said the language is broken into ism, fi'il, harf. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with now. Ismun, right? Good. Now this is where it lies. In the chart, take this particular chart, very important, because even as we are learning, these graphs need to be in our minds always. Try to draw them. I mean, anytime you are seated and you want to just understand this language, put down those structures where we talk about the kalima, the fragments, the sentences. They made up the language. And under the kalima, we have the ism, fi'il, harf, or ism, harf, fi'il. Now we are taking only the ism. Looking at the ism, we are talking about the status, number, gender, and type. Okay, and where we call it SNGT as an abbreviation. SNGT as an abbreviation, put that in your minds. We will always be using S for status, N for number, G for gender, and T for type. So every ism has these 3 properties. No ism, that does not have these 3 properties. It means that for you to define any ism, you need to know its status in the kalim, in the ayah, or in the phrase or statement, its number, its gender, and type. Right? Just like when you are asked, what is your name? You mention the name of your father, your middle name, and then your last name, name of your home, of whatever, to identify you, right? Exactly that's what we do to any ism. So when I say any of those isms, you remember what an ism is: name of a person, name of a place, name of a thing, an idea, adjective, and so on. So every name of a person, for instance, when I say Sa'idun, so I say Sa'idun has a status, yes. Has a number, yes. Has a gender, yes. Has a type, yes. Okay, so now we will come to learn what are these status, what are these numbers, how do you know a number, or what are the numbers in Arabic, what are the genders in Arabic, how many are the types of, how many types of ism can we have, how many genders can we have, how many numbers of ism can we have, and how many status of ism can we have. But for now, SNGT, put it in your minds, please, as we go. SNGT, good. Further, the S is the status, right? So, لكل اسم إعراب أو لكل اسم ما يعربه. Every ism stands in a status. So you can't see an ism without a status. And the status are only 3. That's what we say. Either in Rafa, Nasb, or Jar. So we use this Rafa, Nasb, Jar. Or you can say RN and J. So normally in this course, for the sake of time, we always type RN and J for that S. So status has 3 forms: Rafa, Nasb, Jar. I'm sure you all know these. Rafa, Nasb, Jar, because you are all Arabic teachers, yes. But here we say, okay, the students should just, put them in English phrases. This is one of the things I told you earlier, or 2 days ago and yesterday, that we will be using these technical words, right? But you see, when I write for the, school-going child, Rafa, at least he can identify himself with these letters, this R-A-F, and this apostrophe as Rafa. Even if he cannot write this, or he's not good at the Arabic, but at least he can read, But if you say rafa means rafa, it's the same thing. Nasb is nasb, jar is jar. So we are just using the English word, English letters. Good. Now, these are the three status, and we call them status. Note, status, and that is the S of the SNGT. These three status are here, and this is how they are represented primarily. I mean, primarily, a status can be rafa if the word in that status of rafa is the doer of an action. That's what we call fa'il, right? You remember fa'il, that's the doer. So all doers are in rafa status. That's what we say, rafa status, okay? And all details of an action, or what we can call the victim of an action, right? They are all in nasb status. Victim of an action, detail of an action, or what we call the done to. So this is the doer, and this is the done to, or the victim of an action. Is always in nasb status. And nasb means what? It will take a certain form or a certain haraka. We'll come to talk about those ones. Okay, but nasb is the name of that status. And then the third status is what? Jar. Jar mainly here is after of. Okay, we say a word after of is in jar status. What does it mean? It means any word you translate and the word falls after of, the word of, for instance, when I say the book of Allah, so the word Allah will be in jar status. That's what it means. The book of Allah, Kitabullah. So have you heard what I said? Baytullah. So why is law having that kisra, which is a jar status? It is because in our translation it falls after of. So it makes it easier for someone who knows Arabic to say, okay, very easy. Any word after of is in jar status. Good, right? So we say after of course, there are other instances. For instance, if half of jar occurs before an ism, and we'll come to this. But primarily for now, we say any word after of is in jar status. Any word that is detail of an action is in nasb status. And any word that is the doer of an action is in rafa status. So rafa, nasb, jar. But I would like to make very important give information here before we proceed. I'm going to explain it in details. Rafa, nasb, jar does not mean dhamma, fatah, kisra. Note, rafa, nasb, jar is not dhamma, fatah, kisra. Very important. However, rafa, nasb, jar can be represented by dhamma, fatha, kisra. Very important, because a lot of the time we mix this information and thinking rafa means dhamma. No, rafa doesn't mean dhamma. Rafa is a status in which a word finds itself to take dhamma. Nasb is a status in which a word finds itself to take fatha. And jar is a status in which a word finds itself to take kisra. So dhamma, fatha, kisra are only signs of words in the status of rafa, nasb, and jar respectively. Because there are other signs for rafa, nasb, and jar other than dhamma, fatha, and kisra. I wanted to make this very clear so that we have that difference between the signs of rafa, nasb, jar and the status called rafa, nasb, and jar. Okay. Further, this is what we spoke about now, the status of an ism. So we are taking just one of the four properties. Don't forget, one of the four properties of an ism is what? It's i'rab. That is its status. Now, here is more detail. A status of rafa, okay, happens to an ism or a kalima which is an ism when the kalima is either a subject or a doer. Earlier on we talk about a doer, right? Now we are saying a subject or a doer. So a subject will always also be in rafa status. For instance, a subject means the word that raises curiosity. Okay, a word that raises curiosity is the subject. For instance, when I come and say, the man, then you say, well, what about the man? What about the man? Al-Rajulu, the man. Malahu, Mal al-Rajul. What happens to the man? Fil bayt is in the house. Okay, now you are making sense. So now the fil bayt, settles the curiosity of what? The man. So mentioning the word the man is the subject. So any word that starts a sentence which is an ism is known as the subject. Okay, and the doer is, as we know, or we knew yesterday, is the word that is inside the fi'l, or who did the action, right? Now, words or isms that are subject or doers are all in rafa status, right? So we say it is in rafa status. And this rafa status, if a word is in rafa status, it is identified as marfu'un. So a rafa status word is identified as marfu'un. Now note the difference between rafa and marfu'. Marfu' is the identity of the word in rafa status. So rafa is the status. If a word goes and finds, and an ism finds itself in the rafa status, it is known as what? Marfu'un. So the meme there makes it what? The ism, make it the name or identity given to a rafa ism. So that's the difference between rafa'un and marfu'un. Marfu'un means one that akai wa rufa'a, the one that has been made rafa, right? In Hausa we say one that akai wa rufa'a. Okay, so that, and we also remember that the rafa is a status. Note, rafa is the status. Rafa is not a sign. It's not a haraka. Rafa is a status. It's a position. That if a fi'il, if an ism finds itself in, then that ism is known as marfu'un. Marfu'un. Marfu'un, why? لأن الكلمة في حالة الرفع. Okay, because the ism is in a position of rafa. So we need to understand these terminologies very, very well. Now, this is an addition here to say that, okay, all words or isms that are in rafa status, these are the signs that can possibly appear on them. Either u or un, as you might come to know, u or un, ani, una, atun, or even wow. Okay, in some cases, but we'll come to this detail, not now. But for now, take this as a teaser, right? Anytime you see an ism with u at the end, then it is in rafa status, and you can call it marfu'un. And that word can either be a doer or a subject or something like that, right? Anytime you see an ism with the ending ani, still in rafa status, and it can be called marfu'un. It can be identified as marfu'un, and it can either be a doer or a subject. Anytime you see a word with una at the end, still, it is in rafa status, and it is known as marfu'un. And it is either the doer, the subject, or something like that, okay? Anytime you see an ism ending with atun, the same thing, is a subject, a doer of an action. And it is, you can say it is marfu'un, okay? And then anytime you see a word also ending in wa, in some cases, of course, this one is special isms. There are some 5 special isms that in their rafa status, they use wow, or you see wow at the end of them. And we'll come to that detail too. So put these things in mind that, oh, okay, so now I understand that Dhamma is not the only haraka or sign for a rafa ism. A rafa ism can have these endings, ani, una, atun, or even wow. Okay, let's go to nasb. Nasb, or the status of nasb that makes an ism to be identified as mansub, okay, happens when the ism is an object. Okay, an object of a subject, of course, or a detail of the doer, right? That's what we say. Okay, a detail or victim of an action. When the aiki a cancer, or when the the one that was affected by the action. okay, most of the time becomes mansubun. Why? It is in nasb status. So we say to the child that, okay, you just know that any word that happens to be a detail of an action or an object of a subject, right? Then we say it is in nasb status. Now this nasb status, or you can say mansubun, you can call it mansubun. The sign to know the mansub or nasb status ism is what? Fatha, primarily. Aini, or ina, or atin, or even alif. We'll come to these details. When would it be a? When will it be aini? When will it be ina or atin, or even alif? But these are all signs for nasb. So you come to realize that, okay, now I realize that it's only fatha, is not only fatha that is the sign of nasb. Actually, nasb is not fatha. Nasb is a position that when an ism finds itself in, then we say this word is mansubun. Because it is mansubun, it can either take that or that or that or that, depending on how the circumstance may be. And we'll come to explain that, inshallah. The last form or type of status is what? Is jar status. Here, jar status, halatul jar. Okay. And if an ism is in the jar status, it can either be a possessive kalima or word that is after of, or we say harf of jar is preceded by harf of jar, a possessive word. Okay, as I gave an example earlier. Okay, when I say my house, is actually the house of mine. Okay, so the word my, the my will be in jar status. Okay, because it's the house of mine. Okay. Your house is the house of yours. Okay. Allah's house, Baytullahi. Okay, Baytullahi. So lahi, the he is because the word Allah comes after of. Okay, fi sabili, fi sabilillahi. So the fi causes the Allah to take he, kiss jar. So that status of or being in the status of jar, meaning the word has occurred after of or after harf jar. We'll come to learn what this harf jar is. There are certain harfs, okay? And note, we are using the word harf technically here, that this is what we call it here. We call it harf and we spell it H-A-R-F. Let's agree that, okay, we'll use this. And that is exactly what the harf mean in Arabic, right? So when we are saying harf of jar means harf jar, okay? But we are saying harf of jar, harf jarrin, okay? Now, anytime you see a harf of jar, we'll come to learn them. In an ism after that harf jar, that ism will be in the status of jar. And then the harf itself will be called jarun. And then the ism that comes after it will become what? Majrurun. Okay? So, sorry, this one's supposed to be jarrun, not jarrun. This is supposed to be alatil. Sorry. Okay, hold on. Halatul jar. Okay. And then the ism after, or it will be called majrur. So if a word is in the status of jar, it will be known as majrurun. Okay. Halatul jar, فهو مجرور. الكلمة أو الاسم في حالة الجر فالكلمة مجرور أو الاسم مجرور. So this is an identity or name used for any ism that is in this status. So this is the status, but this is the identity of the word in that status. Okay. Now, what are the signs of words in this status, in this jar status? They are here, either e or aini or ina or atin or ya. Okay. We'll come to the details of how these signs apply to a jar status ism. But the most important thing here for us to note is we have status known as rafa, status known as nasb, and status known as jar. Please, this is a very key thing to note for today. generally. Rafa, nasb, jar. Rafa, nasb, jar. Rafa, nasb, jar. And it will be, when we come to your texting your answers, you will be representing it with R, N, and J. Note, these are status, these different forms of the status. These are different forms of status. And status is hala, halat al-i'rab. Okay, good. Now, let's come to an instance here, an example here, right? For instance, I ate too much chocolate. My tooth started hurting badly. The dentist gave me a filling. The house of Allah. I am in the house, for instance. Note the coloring. But first of all, let me try seeing that I ate too much chocolate. Okay, what did I eat? So I did the eating. What did I eat? Chocolate. You see, I becomes the subject. Okay, and then chocolate is what I ate. So it's the subject, this is the object. So here you can say this is in Rafa status, whilst this is in Nasb status. Why? Because this is the subject, okay, and this is the object. So this will be in Rafa status, and this will be in Nasb status. Good. My tooth started hurting badly. Now note, what started hurt? So what did this action is this tooth. So it is the tooth, which is the word in Rafa status here. And badly is how this action of hurting was. Okay, how was it hurting? Badly. It is a detail of this particular action or this particular action that has started, right? So we say this is the detail, and so this is in Nasb status. But this is the one that did the action, and so it is in Rafa status. The dentist gave me a filling. So gave is a fail or an action. Who did the action? Dentist. So it's in Rafa status. A filling is what was given. So it is in Nasb status. Now let's look at Jar status. The house is in Rafa status. Why? Because it is the subject of Allah. So a word after of is in Jar status. So here I'm coloring red for Jar status. So we say this is in Jar status. Why? Because it's after of. We said this one is in Rafa status. Why? Because it is the subject of the statement. Okay, and we'll come to learn that this is what is known as Mubtada, and this one is what is known as Mudaf ilayhi, for instance. Okay, I am in the house. We call this the subject, and so it's in the status of Rafa, and the house is in the status of Jar. Why? Because of in. In is one of the harf of Jar. So when we say Rafa, Nasb, and Jar, this is actually what we mean. That how am I able to determine that the word is in Rafa status? Note and understand what the position of the word or the ism is in the sentence. If the ism is the one doing the action, then it's in Rafa status. If it is the one that the action fell onto, or the done to, or the victim, or the detail of the action, then it is what? It is the maf'ul. So it is the, yes, the word in nasb status, so it is maf'ul, something that the action fell onto. Okay? And if an ism is after of in translation, or preceded by half of jar, we say it is what? It's in jar status. So jar status, majroor, rafa status, marfu, nasb status, mansub. These are how we use these terminologies, right? But the most important thing is for you to be able to identify the status, you know, the status of an ism. Still, we are on an ism, okay? Ism, okay? Ism has only 3 different stages. Again, I ate apple outside yesterday quickly out of hunger in the masjid of my area. Now look at this. I am the doer. So I'm in Rafa status, right? Rafa, because I am doing this eating. I ate. What did I eat? An apple. Where did I eat? Outside there. When was that? Yesterday. How? Quickly. Why? Out of anger. So the question of what, how, when are all nasb status, isms. So all isms that answer the question of who or what, did you do? And how did you do it? Why did you do it? When did you do it? Where did you? All those answers are, all those isms that answer those questions are in nasb status. Okay? And then in the masjid, the moment I see the in is one of the harf of jar, we'll come to learn that al-masjid becomes what? Or the masjid becomes in a status of jar of my area. So because of this of, any word after of is also in jar status. Now, we are using English here for a purpose, because definitely, believe me, brothers, we'll come to start applying this in Arabic, and you realize that, okay, there is a wisdom behind us practically getting this in English that we understand already, so that when we come to apply it in Arabic, all we have to know is the endings. If we know the u-a-i, and then the ani, aini, una, ina, atun, atin, you will be shocked how you start applying these things. But if you don't understand the concept that, okay, to every ism has three status, either in rafa status, nasb status, or jar status. It can be in rafa status only if it is either the doer of an action, the subject of an action, and some other things which we'll come to. But the most important thing is that the ism will be in rafa status. And then it can also be in nasb status. Nasb means the done to, the victim, or the detail. And we have a lot of those details. And jar status means it is either after of or preceded by half of jar. If you know these three different forms of the status, believe me, it helps a lot, because these are what are known as ahwal al-i'rab lil-ism. For every ism, these are the possibilities that it can fall or you can find it. Finally, for this segment, let's look at this statement. And then we will close this first segment for a short break. Now look at this Arabic statement. Dakhala mudarris, and I intentionally didn't put any haraka here. Al-fasl, and I intentionally also didn't put any haraka here. Okay? I'm sure a lot of you know that this is what it means, right? Again, kana talibuhu yanamu saliman. Kana talibuhu yanamu saliman. Okay? And then rama al-mudarris mirsaman. Okay? And then istayqadha talib al-ustad, and then faj'a. Okay? Now these are the meanings corresponding to these statements. Now, how do I know which of these words, for instance, is the doer of the action, and which one is the subject, and which one is the object, and which one comes after of, and so on? Now, if you look into your translation, you realize that, well, I can even see it clearer here. But why aren't I seeing it clearer here? Because I have not yet mastered the ending sounds and the ending combinations. But here I can master it here in the English. You can easily see here to identify who did what, which word comes after of, and which word shows the way an action was done, and so on. The how, the what, the whom, and so on. We know all those things because this is English. But in Arabic, we can easily know that by the is. That is, that is the message we are just trying to share here. Now look at it here, typically. A teacher entered the classroom. I'm sure with this expression in English, you can easily tell me who did what to what. Okay? So the teacher, or a teacher, is the one who entered the classroom. So the classroom was entered. So definitely this one is in nasb status, and this one is the one in rafa status, right? So when you come here, you can easily say that, okay, this mudarris will have to be mudarrisu. It can't be mudarrisa or si. So it has to be what? Su. Why? Because it did this action. This is the doer of this action. So this one will take dhamma. U. One of the signs we mentioned earlier is what? U. So this one will take U. Of course, we mentioned other signs, but we'll come and explain how does it apply to the others. Okay. What about this? Okay. Al-fasli. Okay, maybe here I didn't translate it well because there have to be another word here. Mudarrisul fasli, the classroom teacher. Mudarris, oh, the translation here is even wrong. I think it should have been the classroom teacher entered the classroom. Okay, so it's supposed to be the classroom teacher. Dakhala mudarrisul fasla, or dakhala mudarrisul fasli al-fasla. Okay, so if I say dakhala mudarrisul fasla, okay, dakhala mudarrisun al-fasla, it means a teacher entered the class. Okay, but if I say dakhala mudarrisul fasli, if I should put only a light here and say mudarrisu al-fasli, okay, then it means the teacher of the class. Then this one changes from being the done to a word after of, right? But for here, what I mean here is that the teacher entered the class, or a teacher entered the class. So dakhala mudarrisun al-fasla. So this one will be un, and this one will be a. Okay, because the fasla is the victim, or the one that took the action on itself. Okay, but this is the actor. So the actor will be having the un, and the done to would be having the a. But why is it un, not u? We'll come to that explanation later. But the most important thing is the u aspect, and then the a aspect, or I should say the rafa status and the nasb status. So rafa, nasb. Rafa, why? It is the doer. Nasb, why? Because it is the victim or the done to. Now the next one says كان طالبه ينام سالما. A student of his was sleeping soundly. Now note, you see, you from here, if I tell you who is the subject of this particular sentence, very difficult for you to say. But here you can easily note that, okay, the student is the subject. How do I know that? Because this talib here is in rafa status, so it's talibu, talibu, who, talibu, who. But the word who is his, so it comes after of, so it is in jar status. So who is in jar status. And this, the next one highlighted, Saliman, is in nasb status. Why is it in nasb status? You can see the sign of nasb, and also because it is showing how the student was sleeping. So anything that explains the how is always in nasb status. Okay. Again, Rama al-mudarrisu mirsaman. Rama al-mudarrisu mirsaman. So look at the sentence. I'm sure some of you who know the Arabic know the meaning. But if you look at the coloring here, the teacher is made green because it's the subject. Okay, so it is in rafa status. So here you can easily put dhamma on top of mudarrisu. What did he throw? So what? Where the action fell on is in nasb status. So this one will be man, murisa man. That's how come this one will be in the nasb status. And the sign for the nasb here is fatha, or fathatain in this context, right? So rafa status, nasb status. Why rafa? Because it's the doer. Why nasb? Because it is the done to, the detail or the victim of the action. Okay. Finally, the teacher's student woke up suddenly. Istayqadha talibul ustadhi. Note, I'm saying talibul ustadhi faj'atan. So you will ask, okay, why? How do I know this is who, this is he, this is an? Remember, I said the doer is always who, the done to is always a, and if a word falls after of in translation, is always he. Okay, so the teacher's student is actually the student of the teacher, right? Note, is the student of the teacher. So actually this word is in a possessive case here, okay? So we say the student of the teacher. So this word teacher is actually in jar status. That's why here you have to put the jar sign, which is kisra. And faj'atan. Faj'atan shows how the waking up was done. How is what done? So any answer to the question of how is always in nasb status. So this one will be faj'atan. Okay. So the u, e, a, or un, an, in, these are only signs for status. Status in Arabic, particularly with isms here we are talking about, are only three: rafa, nasb, jar. If any ism finds itself in a rafa status, we say the ism is marfu'. If it has itself in a status of nasb, we say the ism is mansub. Or it finds itself in a status of jar, we say the ism is majrur. And the signs for rafa and nasb and jar vary according to so many other things that we are going to talk about. The primary ones, the primary signs for rafa is dhamma. Primary sign for nasb is fatha, and then the primary sign for jar is kisra. Okay. Jazakumullah anna kull khair. We'll go for a short break. 5 minutes, we'll come back, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You're all welcome. Alhamdulillah. I can see there was a question here by Brother Abdullahi Bayi. Says, yeah, Ustaz, I would have appreciated if you colored the status in the Arabic text as you've done. Okay. Okay. Okay, and there's also another question here. Okay, mashallah. Thank you so much for that. The Bayis are really active here, alhamdulillah. Okay, so we will answer these questions now. Let's try doing something here. Let's go quickly back to my slides, inshallah, and see what we can quickly do about that question of coloring, as well as explaining one of other questions that was asked. Okay, so here we said, that's quite interesting, right? Okay, here we said dakhala al-mudarris al-fasla. So now the question will go to you, particularly Wala Abdullah Bai. Which one will be red and green, blue, or red in this statement? Can you type the answer for me quickly based on what we have just learned? Okay. Okay. It's very interesting. Today we have lost it because okay. Okay. Okay, this question from Kamal is about the recording. The recording is there, and we will share the YouTube, our YouTube channel, inshallah. It is there for everyone who wants to revise. Okay. Yes. So let's cover it here. Brother Abdullahi. So Mudarrisu is then the doer in this particular instance. So the doer here, which is in Rafa status, is Mudarris. So Mudarris will be green, let's say, right? So Mudarris will be green. And Al-Fasla is the victim of the action here. So Al-Fasla will then be blue. Okay, let's say that. Okay, then Kana Talibu. This Talibu is in Rafa status, so it will be green. Okay, and then the Who is in Jar status, so it will be red. Saliman is in Nasb status, so it will be blue. I hope you are following. Then Rama al-Mudarris, this Mudarris is Mudarrisu, so it is the doer, so it is green in this case. Mirsaman is the one that the action fell onto, so it is blue, right? It's blue. This blue is not deep enough, right? So I'm not using the, okay. Okay, let me see if that, okay. And then استيقظ الطالب استيقظ طالب طالب الأستاذ. So طالب here is in Rafa status, so it is green. Al-Ustadi is in Jar status, so it is red. Faj'atan is in Nasb status, so it is blue. So we use this blue here and color it like that. Okay. Okay, so basically that's what we did earlier. And then there is another question from the slides before from another sister. Yes, Mr. Abdullah Bai. Yes, Mother is green for. Okay. Okay. The question is here. Another very good question that says, why is this out of, I like this question, though. Out of hunger does not, why is the hunger not in jar status? Because it's after of. This is a very good question. It never came to my mind, but actually the answer is, if this expression was in Arabic, note, if this expression was in Arabic, actually, the whole of this is actually one word. Okay? It's actually one word. It's not a word with an off in the middle. So out of is actually in English, right? It's English. It's an English expression that will bring the word out of. For instance, when I say أكلت التفاح خارج البيت بسرعة جوعا. So the word جوعا, if you are going to translate the word جوعا in English, you can't say hungry or hunger. You say out of hunger. So the word out of is actually because you want to express the word hunger. In English, you cannot say hungrily, for instance, unless, well, if it is also accepted. That's how come this word here, the off here, is not like the off here, the idafa. Okay, this one is idafa. In this case, the two isms will be together, but the off is in the meaning. So you have two isms coming together. Okay, but in this case, is because we want to say when you do something out of something. Okay, in Arabic, you know, it's known as hal. Okay, ju'an. Okay, but when you want to express this expression ju'an in English, the best way to say is out of hunger. But the word out of here is actually within the English translation. So this is a translation issue. It's not a grammar issue. Okay, this is more of a translation issue. I hope this is clear for Sister, I think Mariam or so, right? Good. But this whole word, as I said, in its Arabic context, is actually one word. Okay. Yeah, but we will explain this better when we come to really deal with what is known as the fragment, where we have how to get after of translation. Okay, there's a topic on that specifically, inshallah. Okay, so let's quickly proceed with status number, with the status, kinds of status, and how to really understand them. Remember that, for instance, when we say the messenger of Allah taught his companions universal values. So the messenger of Allah taught his companions universal values. Okay. Oh, sorry. In this particular expression, I'm sure you can easily tell me what is the status of the messenger of Allah. So these are the isms. So we are not, first of all, let's detect the isms in the sentence. They are the messenger, Allah, his companions, universal virtues. Okay. So in this case, because there is the word taught, okay, then what we say is that, okay, so there is someone who did this action. The one who did that action becomes the doer of the action. Okay, the doer of the action here is the messenger of Allah. Okay, the messenger of Allah. Now, the word messenger is actually the doer, but of Allah is giving you another portion, okay, of the concept of what we call idafa here. So the messenger becomes in rafa status, but the Allah is actually in a situation of jar. Okay, here we call it idafa because it falls after the of. So Okay, so I'm just trying to make this clear so that my sister Mariam would understand here what it means to have an after of. This cannot be explained here until we come to do idafa. Okay, mainly this how the after of expression comes. Two isms, you know, just in the middle is of. Okay, and one of them is of the other. Okay, one of them is of the other. So this is an ism, this is an ism. Okay, and this is the one with the status of Rafa, but this one is in the possessive case, and so it will be in jar status. And again, it falls after of. So in effect, we can say that the messenger will be colored green because it is the subject. Allah here will be colored red because it falls after of. Now, what did he teach and who did he teach and what, you know, and so on. So the messenger of Allah did certain things. Okay, he did something, that is the act of teaching. Who did he teach? Okay, he teach companions. He didn't teach his, he taught companions. Sorry, he didn't teach. He didn't teach his. What he did, what he taught the companions. So the companions here will be in blue. I don't seem to have the deeper blue here. Just trying to get it deeper and deeper. Okay. Okay. And his here is actually in a possessive case. So like saying companion of his. So this will be in jar status. And the values or universal values, the whole of that is also in nas status, because these are the things that he taught. You know, some of the fi'ls you will be told later, sorry, some of the fi'ls you will be told later can demand more than one maf'ul. So in this case, the whole of that is in nasb status. This is in jar status, and this is also in jar status, but this one is in rafa status. Okay. Again, Dawood killed Jalut. So there is a killing that happened. Okay. Now, Dawood did the killing, so Dawood should be in green. Jalut, who was killed, should be in blue, because it's the one that received the action. Again, Allah sent his messenger. So Allah is the one who did the sending. So Allah is green. Who did he send? The messenger. Which of the messengers of his? So his is in jar status. And that is why when you translate this one in Arabic, you realize that, okay, so this his is actually in jar status, because in Arabic, this is how it will look like. You will say, Arsala, Arsalallahu, Rasula. So you have the Rasula, and then who? So in this case, very easily, this Rasula is the one that received the action. So it will be blue. That's what we are saying. Okay. So it will be blue because it received the action. Okay. While the who here is mudaf ilayhi, what we call the after of word. But Allah is the doer of the action, so it will be green. I hope we are moving steadily. So the idea of rafa nasb jar, for ism is very important. If we are able to know that, okay, so every word or ism that actually did an action will be in rafa status. Every ism that receives the action will be in nasb status. And the ism that comes after of in translation, or what we call the possessive ism, okay, the possessive ism, the one who possesses, you know, something, okay, would always be in the jar status, okay. For the jar status and nasb status, as I said, there are several ways to have an ism in jar status. There are also several ways to have an ism in rafa status or jar status. So all these status, we're just given an instance of them here. That if a doer, if you realize the doer of an action in a statement, then it is in rafa status. If you are able to realize the done to or the victim of an action, then it is always in nasb status. And if you are able to detect the possessive word in an act, in a statement, then it will be in jar status, right? Now, if we are able to understand this, then you will come to realize that, okay, so for ism, it's very, very important that we know the signs. The signs for this, in this case, is dhamma. In this case is fatha. But in this case, it's actually jar. But you can't see the jar. There is, sorry, you can't see the sign of jar here. We're supposed to be kisra. But we'll come to know the reason why that has happened. In fact, there are reasons why sometimes. That's why I said, you know, in the earlier explanation, I said kisra is not the only sign for jar status. Jar status can have several. Sometimes even an ism would not show the jar or rafa or nasb because it is non-flexible, as we say. Inshallah, we'll come to learn some of that. Okay. Now let me go back here and explain one other thing here. Dawood killed Jalut. So in Arabic we say qatala Dawood, qatala Dawudu Jaluta. Okay. Now this is Arabic. Now because this is Arabic, what we need to understand is that the U here tells you that it is this who did the action. So it will be in Rafa status. Okay. Jalut is in Nasb status because it received the action. It is the done to or the victim of the action. Now I want to explain something here very fundamental, right? About the language of Al-Quran. Now, Qatala is the action. Dawudu is the doer of the action. Jaluta is the receiver of the action. Now, this fatha is a sign of nasb status. This dhamma is the sign of rafa status. That's what you say. We don't say that. So now we understand that dhamma is not rafa and fatha is not nasb. Nasb is different from rafa, and nasb is different from fatha, and dhamma is different from rafa, and jar is different from kasra. What we say is that rafa, nasb, jar are status, whilst dhamma, fatha, kasra are kinds of signs of statuses that are mentioned. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that the ruling in Arabic tells you that anywhere this word occurs, as well as it is having the dhamma, then it is the doer. The moment I do that, and then I do that, sorry, if I do that in the, okay, so let me do that. If I do it like this, what I'm saying is that it is Jalut who did the killing. So then that Jalut will now become green and Dawood would then become blue. So do you realize now that it doesn't matter where the U sound is, that U sound would then become the doer. That U sound, you will then become the doer. Very, very important for us to note, right? Just one moment, I'm having somebody here, 1 minute. Okay, so very important information here. The moment this one takes Dhamma, it becomes the doer. So this one becomes the green, and this becomes the blue. Okay, so it doesn't matter where it is seated. You know, in Arabic we say that is how we determine the doer from the done to. Let me go back. Okay. Okay. So what this means is that this word Dawood can be moved here. But the expression still stands the same. Okay? In Arabic. In Arabic, you can still say Qatala Jaluta Dawudu. And it still has this meaning. Dawood killed Jalut. You can still also move, in fact, this Dawood can be moved here. Sorry. We can move this Dawood here. And so we will say Dawoodun Qatala Jalut, and still Dawood killed Jalut. So this Dawood will still be the doer as far as it has the Dhamma or Rafa status. And Jalut will still be the Dantu as far as it is having the art sound. This is a very important thing about Arabic, okay? But in English, for instance, you can't move this Dawood anywhere. You can't move this word here or here. If you move it here, it becomes something else. It wouldn't give you the meaning of David killed Goliath or Dawood killed Jalut. And so the ruling here, finally, is that anytime you see an action in Arabic, it's a fi'l, for you to determine where is the doer or the fa'il of the action, just keep on looking into the sentence until you see a Rafa Ism. That Rafa Ism is the fa'il, is the doer. It doesn't matter if it is just after the fi'l, maybe 2 words after, or maybe even at the end of the statement. Just look until the end of the statement. If there is no any Rafa Ism, then the doer is inside the fi'l. Okay, very important information that I needed to clarify. Okay, let's go further. Now, this is how we apply these sounds. We have U, A, I, or Un, An, In. As I said, these are the only harakat in Arabic. The rest are not known as harakat. These are what are known as harakat. Why are they known as harakat? Because, of course, literally the word harakat means movement. There is movement of the organs. All right, U, A, I, particularly of the lips. The lips takes the shape of the U sound here. So it does something like upside down U. So it becomes, when you say U, you are doing that. When you say you are stretching your lips a little bit. But when you say E, you stretch it even down, even, more flat, right? Good. But this U-A-E, when made heavy, you just add a N sound to it. Okay, so it becomes un and in. So we call this light, and we say these ones are heavy. For the sake of this course, we say these ones are light and these ones are heavy. Okay, I'm sure some of you will be saying, oh, well, Imam, this is tanween. Let's call it tanween. Well, in tajweed, we call it tanween, but here in Nahu, we call it heavy and light. Okay, let's say heavy and light. We are just learning new methods, right? So this is light and this is heavy. Okay, but it's the same harakat. Good. In English, sequence of the words matter in understanding who did what. That's what we said earlier. You can't, when you said Dawood killed Jalut, you can't change the sequence and say maybe Jalut killed Dawood and it will still have the same meaning. The meaning will change, and you might then be changing history, But that is not how it is in Arabic. Qabil killed Habil. That's what the history says. Now, you can't move this Qabil here and say, or bring Habil here. The moment you bring Habil here, it will become Habil killed Qabil. And then you will be told, no, that is wrong. Not the language, but historically it is wrong. But in Arabic, I can just move the word Qabil. So for instance, in this case, I'll just write it like that and say, Qatala. Why are you using Qatala? Somebody will say, well, I'm only killing today. Okay. Qatala, Qabilu. So it is Qabil who did the killing, and then Habil. So this Habil will take because it is the victim. Okay, this word, Habila. Now, what I was saying earlier is that this Habil can be moved even here. Okay, and the sentence still stands the same. So I will say, Qatala Habila, Qabilu, and it's the same meaning. So Qatala Habila Qabilu is the same as Qatala Qabilu Habila. The moment I make sure that the harakat stay rafa for the dua and nasb for the dantu. Okay, this dua can in fact be moved from here, as I said, okay, before the qatala, and it will still be the same meaning in English. However, of course, in that case, that jumla changed from fi'liya to ismiya. Okay, but the meaning will still be the same in English as it is. So that is some of the flexibility of Al-Quran, of the language of Al-Quran, in that the most important thing is to maintain the status. If the status is rafa, then it's the dua. If it is nasb, then it is the dantu in this kind of a sentence. Okay, that's very, very important for us to stress. Good. Okay, we explained this already. So in Arabic, we say sequence of the words do not matter. What matter is what? Is to maintain your U-A-E and to know how the Rafa, Nasb, and Jar apply. Very important, right? If you are able to maintain the Rafa, Nasb, and Jar, that means your status is known to you. That means you will be able to move the words wherever you want, and the meaning will still stay as it is. Okay, good. So you need to look at the ending of the word to determine who did what to whom or what. For instance, When we gave the example of Katala Jalut, Katala Dawudu Jaluta. So the Dawudu, the moment I hear the U, I know, oh, okay, you are the doer. Come here. Jaluta, oh, sorry, you are the done to, the victim, sorry, okay, and so on. So the U are very important, and E. Further explanation says here, if you are able to figure out the action, and that is a fail. And yesterday, you know, we did a lot of this. Fail, file, fail, ism, fail, harf, and you are able to detect the fail. The moment you detect the fail, the ruling says, look for the next rafa ism, and that is the marfu. Okay, wherever it is in the sentence, and that is your file or your doer. Don't feel anything. The moment you see the fail, okay, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي, so قَالَ رَبُّ, so that U is the doer of the qala. That's how it is. Okay, and so on. And the ism in nasb status or mansub is the detail of the action. So when you go, okay, and you realize that there is any nasb ism, you know, after the fa'il, or, you know, sometimes it can come, of course, before the fa'il or after. The most important thing is to know that this is nasb. If you know this is nasb, then it is the maf'ul or the done to, okay, wherever it is, right? And of course, the done tos are many. There are a lot of these maf'uls. We'll come to learn them later so that you know that, of course, I gave you a hint of them before. That means the words that answer the question of who received the action, or what received the action, or how the action was done, or why the action was done, or where was the action done, or when was the action done. All the words that answer these questions, you always see them in nasb status, and they are the maf'uls. Okay, we'll learn more about that. But for now, we are learning two types of endings in Arabic. I will take a short break to come and discuss that. So don't go far away. Inshallah, we'll come back to discuss that. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you can hear me. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Okay. Now, again, a quick reminder, the status that we are discussing today is peculiar to ism. So ism is what we are discussing today, and we are discussing all the the three different forms of the status: rafa, nasb, jar. And we mentioned that for me to know an ism is in rafa status, I have to see if it is the doer or the subject of the ayah or the expression in Arabic. And if it is the subject, then it will have an oot sound, for instance, as one of the signs, not the only one, oot sound. And whenever I see an at sound on an ism, then I know it's a dantu, or it is the victim of an action or an object in a statement. And if it is in having a sign of jar, kisra, for instance, sign of kisra rather, in jar status, then I know that it's either it is in a possessive case or it is preceded by harf of jar. Okay. But I would also like to mention this, that the rafa and nasb cases for the ism is the main one. Mostly jar comes as a result of a relationship, okay? A relationship between the ism and another. But the major status that we talk about, or the one you will see majorly, are the rafa and nasb status, which are part of what we call the components of the sentence, okay? The jar is rather an effect, an effect of a relationship that causes the jar. But nasb is a component of a sentence. For instance, what I'm trying to make clear is anytime you see ism majroor as a result of a relationship with another ism. Okay? But rafa is subject, nasb is object. So these are components of a sentence. Then jar comes as a result of a relationship between sometimes even the subject and another ism, or the object and another ism. So majorly what we say is that rafa and nasb know them very well. The jar, they will come by themselves, because when the moment you learn about huruf al-jar, then you know all the majroors. Then the moment you learn about idafa, then you know that every mudaf ilayh is majroor, for instance. Then you are done with jar. But nasb and rafa are the main ones. Rafa, if it is a subject or a doer. Nasb, if it is the object, victim, or a detail of an action. Okay. Okay, so let's continue with the slides. I think we are left with, okay, that. Okay, is that what we did? Oh. Okay. So that's what we explained. Now, there are two types of endings. Now, when we said that, how do I identify my rafa nasb jar? مثلا كيف أعرف أن الكلمة أو الاسم في حالة الرفع أو النصب أو الجر؟ كيف أعرف? How do I know? Then we say, look at the ending part of the ism. If the ending word has a sound or a combination of sounds and letters. These are the two ways to get to know that. Okay? So the two types of endings are sound ending, or we'll call it ending sound. Okay? And this one can happen to a singular looking ism. Now, why did I say a singular looking, not a singular ism? Singular looking, because not every single, sorry, not only the singular words are having the ending sounds. So when I say sounds, I mean u, a, e, u, a, e. Not only the singular words are having the u, a, e, because generally what we say is that, now note this down. Generally, what we say is that, or what we'd learn is that the singulars would be having the sounds, ending sounds, and the pair and plurals would be having the ending combinations. That's what we say, right? So this is a general rule, but it's not so correct because there are certain plurals that look like singular. So those plurals also have ending sounds, like kutubun. Kutubun is plural, but it looks like a singular word. So we call it a broken, non-human broken plural. Okay? This word looks more like a singular, and so it also has ending sound. So we say kutubun, kutuban, kutubin. Or rajulun, oh sorry, rijalun, rijalin, and rijalan. Okay? That is ending sound. So ending sounds apply to singular looking isms. Okay? Or isms that look, or if you want to be specific, they apply to singulars and non-human broken plural, right? That is actually what we are trying to say here. So these are the sounds, u and un. We said this is light and this is heavy. A word with such ending is said to be in rafa status and is identified as what? Marfu, we said that, right? U, un. So kitabu or kitabun, muslimu, muslimun, baytu, baytun, and so on, right? So this is light and this is heavy. Heavy because of the on it, right? So and as we said, the actual haraka is dhamma. This one makes it heavy only, okay? And it is for rafa isms, a rafa status ism. And when an ism takes this in nahu, we say it is what? Marfu. Very easy. So Allahu is lafz al-jalala marfu. Kitabu marfu. Okay? Baytu marfu. Madrasatun marfu. Kitabun marfu'un. Baytun. Rajulun. Sayyaratun. Qalamun. And so on. These are all, we'll say, kalimat sayyaratun marfu'. Okay, marfu'un. Marfu'un means it is in the status of rafa. Okay, it is a word in the status of rafa. Okay, ismun fi halat rafa. Good. And then a and an, like kitaba and kitaban, baita baitan, rajula rajulan, madrasata madrasatan. A word with such ending is said to be in nasb status. So note this, nasb status. The status is what? Nasb. And when you want to identify that word, you say that the word is what? Mansubun. Mansubun. Okay? What about e and in? E, light, in, heavy. A word with such an ending is said to be in jar status. Jar status, and it's identified as what? Majrurun. So we can have ismun marfu'un, ismun mansubun, and ismun majrurun. Okay, but we should know what majrur means and what we know what the jar means. So jar is the status, majrur is the identity of that ism, which is in jar status, right? So that's how we say it. We say mansub is an identity of an ism in nasb status. Okay, but the a and an are signs, only signs, primary signs, okay, on isms that are in nasb status, that are identified as mansub, and so on. The second type of ending is an ending combination. Combination of what? Sounds and letters. There we had only the an and a, sorry, un, u, a, an, and e, and in. Only sounds, right? But in the case of words, if they are pair or plural, this plural, of course, is the plural of masculine and feminine, plural. In that case, we'll have it as jam'u with an ending combination. Okay. Here, we'll say it has an ending combination. Why? We'll see it here. So you see, wherever you see the a and ani, and ani, okay, or I and aini, okay, I and aini. So and ani is always with rafa. In rafa status, that is R, rafa status for pair. So when I say, for instance, kitaba or muslima, so Muslim, the ma, mim fataha ma, mat alif ma, muslima Ghana, 2 Muslims of Ghana. Okay, muslima. It's in rafa status. Muslimani is also in rafa status. It's just that this is light and this is heavy. Light meaning there is no n. Okay, the heavy means it has the n on it. Okay, but both are in rafa status. If the word which is in this pair number, pair means muthanna, okay? Muthanna, 2. If the word is in rafa status, that is how the ending will be. Either a or ani. If it is light, and there are reasons, of course, why an ism will be light. We'll come to learn that, inshallah. And ani if it's heavy. That is if it is in rafa status. But if it is in nasb or jar status, then it will become ayni or ayi. There should be a sukun here. Sorry. There should be a sukun here. So this is ayi. Okay. So it's a or ayi. Okay. So kitabai or kitabaini. Kitabai or kitabaini. Okay. So this is the rafa and nasb and jar with regards to pair. If it is plural masculine, the ending will either be u or una. So u or una is always for rafa, but for plural masculine isms. If it is nasb or jar, it will be e or ina. So ina is for plural masculine. Una, plural masculine. But this one is for rafa, and this is for nasb or jar. Now, nasb or jar, meaning that it depends on the context, that you'll be able to know if the ism is in nasb or jar status. Don't forget, rafa, nasb, jar are status. But the ani, aini, ina, these are all signs. These are signs for the rafa, nasb, jar. Finally, the last one is plural feminine. Okay, in the raf status, it will be atun at the end, or atu, atun or atu. So anytime you see an ism ending with atu, okay, or atun, then it is a plural feminine word in rafa status. In rafa status, that means it might either be the doer, or it will be the subject, or it can be, any ism in rafa status. If the same ism is in nasb status, the ending will be atin. So instead of atun, it becomes atin, or ati if it is light. Okay. So this atun, atin, for instance, Fatimatun. Fatima is a lady. So when I say Fatimatun, I mean Fatima in rafa status. Fatimatin, Fatima in that case is in nasb status. Ra'aytu Fatimatin. I saw a lot of Fatimas. Okay. Ja'atni Fatimatun. A lot of Fatima came to me. So in this case, they are the doers. In this case, they are the done to. So this is how we are able to identify the ending combinations. We call it what? The ending combination. Okay, combination of sounds and letters. Okay, that happens to only the pair and plural. The last one here is the broken plural human or non-human, right? They are same as singular in that this is what we spoke about earlier on. Okay, when I said jam'u taksir. Jam'u taksir, they look more like singular. So kutub is the plural of kitabun, but kutubun doesn't look like, you don't say kutubuna or kitabuna or kitabatun. So it doesn't have ending combinations. okay, in the plural form. But kitabani will have this ending, right? Kitabani, okay? But in its plural is kutubun. So in its plural, it sounds more like a singular, okay? So kutubu or kutubun, kutuba or kutuban, kutubi or kutubin. So that is because it is a broken plural. Now the broken plural can either be human or non-human. Human broken plural like rusulun, okay? Rusulun is from the word rasulun, rasulani, then you say rusulun. You don't say rasuluna. So it doesn't have ending combination at the end, but it has ending sound like a singular. That's why at the beginning here, I did mention, oh, sorry, here I said that the ending sound is always for singular looking isms. That's why I use this expression, a singular looking ism or mufrad looking isms. Why is it mufrad looking ism? Because this word here, rusulun, rasulun, rasulani, rusulun. So let me just type it here for the sake of this discussion. So let me do that quickly. Okay. So for the human broken plural, I have rasulun, rasulun, rasulani, rasulani, and rusulun. Okay. So this plural word, doesn't it look more like singular because it doesn't have the una and ina and atu like these ones, right? So we say that this is a broken plural. Why is it broken? The word broken is because if you look at this formula form of the singular, it's having ra, su, lun. The same thing with the pair, ra, su, and then l, and then the ani is added. But in this case, when it came here, it changed to ras, rusu. What is the wow? It's broken. That's why it's called broken plural. Okay. So any plural that changes from the form of the singular or doesn't have the form of the singular intact, then it's known as a broken plural. And it can be human, as we see it here. So this one is known as human broken plural. Human broken plural, right? And then we can have the non-human broken plural. Like what? Kalamun, sorry. Kalamun and kalamani and aklamun. So these, or the way it is looking now, you can see clearly when I say that the plural form looks more like singular, but it is broken because, for instance, here is katlamun and katlam and then the ani for the pair. But when it came to the plural, a hamza here is invented, is brought in, and then another mud alif is put in front of the lam. That's the meaning. That's why it is called taksir or mukassar. That means the plural, the singular form of the word is broken. These kinds of plurals are dealt with as if they are singular. So therefore, they have ending sounds instead of combination, right? So that is all about the ending sounds and ending combinations. And by that, we would have done with this. And let's look at the next. This is a table, okay? This is a table of what we have just been talking about. Maybe I'll just post. This particular table is very important, and so I will share it for all to have. I know Brother Bai has asked us to share the slides, but because the slides are more like they are not they are rough notes for the facilitator, and so We don't want it to be sharing it so that they will say, oh, and you can see I've been modifying it, right? So it can happen that there's a mistake there and then you take it as a Bible, as it said, right? So that's why we don't want to be saying we are sharing. At any time, I can change it. In fact, if I bring the slide tomorrow to teach the same slide, the same topic, I will make changes to them before I bring it. Because every day, new ideas come as we teach and share. I'm sure those who have learned this from us for the past 2-3 years will tell you a lot of changes are happening in the style, in the information, and so on. And that is because we are all humans, right? Okay. So this is a very important table, and this is what I've been explaining all this while, that the status, how to tell the status of an ism is to look at its ending sound or its ending combination. Okay, so these ones are the ending sounds in the case of a singular, or in the case of human or non-human broken plurals. We have the u, un, a, sorry, yes, u, un, a, an, I, in. Okay, or here. So the singular phase and the broken human plural and non-human plurals with ending sounds, while the ending combination can be found only with the pair and the plural. And you can see some of the comments here to assist you to know the markers or how to identify the status with these signs. Finally, there are examples here of how you can see, or how you will be able to identify your status looking at the numbers. You see the singular, this is pair, this is plural, 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 plural. These are all kinds of plurals, right? Okay, all these kinds of plurals. We are learning them here before because it is actually one of the things we will come to learn later, and that has to do with the number of an ism. Okay, but it's good that it is here with us. So we say Muslimu and Muslimun and Muslimu. They are all in rafa status. So they are known as marfu'un, right? Muslima and Musliman, or Musliman and Muslima, mansubun. Muslimi, Muslimin, majrurun. These are all singular words, but in rafa, nasb, jar. Rafa, nasb, jar. This is heavy, this is light. Okay? Pair. If it is pair, you just add the ani and drop the noon if it is light. So Muslimani and Muslima, both in rafa status. Muslimaini and Muslimai, nasb status. And Muslimaini and Muslimai, also jar status. You realize that the jar and nasb are the same forms, right? The same state, the same endings, right? The jam'u mudhakkar salim, for those who have known the Arabic nahu, is the plural masculine. We call it sound plural masculine. Sound. Sound means the singular form is safe in the plural word. The singular form, which is Muslim. So mim, sin, lam, mim is the singular, and it is safe. All we did here is to add the una, or una if it is heavy, if it is light. And then muslimina, muslimi, sorry. Muslimina, muslimi, and muslimina, muslimi in nasb and jar status respectively. Muslimina if it is heavy, muslimi if it is light. Muslimina if it is heavy, muslimi if it is light. The same thing here also, nasb and jar are the same, okay? Jamu muannas salim, plural feminine sound isms. Now, the word sound here is different from the ending sound. Sound means safe, salim, okay? So don't be confused with this. The word salim means safe or sound, okay? It's not the same as the ending sound. Here it's talking about the soundness of the ending. Sorry, soundness of the singular. That it means the singular is safe from any change in the plural form. Okay, and it's applied for both jam' muzakkar salim and jam' muannas as-salim. Jam' muannas salim ends with atun or atu in rafa, atin or ati in nasb, and atin or ati in jar. Jamu taksir al-aqil, this is human broken plural. This is how it is. An example of it is rusulun and rusulu in rafa, rusulan, rusula, nasb, rusulin, and rusuli, jar. Okay, so majrurun, mansubun, marfu. And then jamu taksir li ghayr aqil for non-human broken plural. An example of it is what? Aklam. Of course, the meaning of non-human is that kalam is not human. Rasul is human, so that's why it is called human and non-human. Aqlamun is the plural of qalamun, okay? And it is not safe or it is not sound um, because the singular is qalamun. The singular doesn't start with hamza, but the plural start with hamza. So there's a break in the arrangement or in the form of the singular. So we say it is a broken plural. This is a non-human broken plural, and it is un or u at the end if it is rafa, an or a if it is nasb, in or e if it is jar. All of that heavy or light respectively. Okay. So the one with the tanween, we say it is heavy, and the one which is without tanween, we say it is light. Okay. Now, finally, we are going to look at this particular slide before we leave, but tomorrow we will come and explain more about this particular point, okay? This one, we will leave it for tomorrow, inshallah, and that is flexibility of an ism, okay? So we have spoken about the form, we have spoken about how to tell the ending sound and the ending combination, and then we have also mentioned how to know if the ending is heavy or it is light. Okay, these are all the categories of, and then next we are going to look at the category of flexibility. What is flexibility in a status? So in considering, finally, what I want to share with you is that in considering a status, if I want to know the status of an ism, I have to consider four things: the form, either rafa, nasb, jar, or the ending sound and combination, or if it is heavy or light, and then finally the flexibility. That is, if the ending can accept, you can see the u or un, a or an, e or in, or if it doesn't, you don't see it at all. Like in some cases where you have an ism like Yahya. Yahya will never show you the un and an and in. So that means it's non-flexible. Okay. So Muhammadun, for instance, is flexible because you can hear the un and in. But Yahya is non-flexible because you cannot hear or you cannot see any of those signs, right? And there are others which are partly flexible, like Ibrahimu. You can say Ibrahimu, Ibrahima, Ibrahimi, but you cannot say Ibrahim. Sorry. You can say Ibrahimu, Ibrahima, or Ibrahima for Rafa, Nasb, Jar, respectively. You can't say Ibrahimi in Jar status. So this is partly flexible. We will share this, inshallah, tomorrow. And so the light and heavy aspect, we say that normally an ism should be heavy. Okay. What that means is that every ism standing alone is heavy. And that is why the first word we learn in Arabic is what? Madrasatun or kitabun or baytun or kalamun and so on. So all those words having their own ani, aini, okay, they are all heavy. An ism is made light by removing the n sound, so removing the tanween, right? Okay, removing the double accent, which is the tanween, or removing the noon. You have to also note that alif and lam does not like tanween. So any word with alif and lam, you cannot put tanween on it. But that ism, but an ism with the alif and lam is not considered light either. So you can't say al-muslimu is light because it's having the u. Why? Because the alif and lam does not make it light. However, the alif and lam is something we are going to discuss later. But you say in this case, the word al-muslimu, the issue of heavy and light here is irrelevant. Okay. So generally, we will end with this particular Muslim chart. Okay, what is my Muslim chart? Okay, the Muslim chart is not showing. Subhanallah. Okay, so tomorrow we will see something about the Muslim chart. Okay, Muslim chart is here. Why is it not showing? Okay. Okay, so this is the Muslim chart we have just been sharing in the blue. Okay, so you go and it's in your book actually, the handout that was given to you. Please go and revise it well. And so that you will be able to identify the ending sounds and ending combinations in order for you to be able to grasp what we have discussed today. Thank you so much. Let me see. I'm having some question here. You were asked, okay, some of you were asked to actually put in your names to ensure that we have the attendance taken. I can still see Techno Spark 4. Can you just share what name is that? Who is the one using the Techno Spark 4? You can just type your name so that we'll know who the person is. This one from Abdullah Bai says, actually, I did not see the summary of the course. 60 pages, and I demanded for the slides. I saw it later in the day. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Alhamdulillah. Yes. Yes. A reminder for all participants, please. And this is happening for this particular version of the course. The last one we did in September, they didn't get the opportunity of doing the practicals of what we learned during the day in the evening. So inshallah, every day we have a learning session in the afternoon. There's going to be a revision and practice of it in the evening. Yesterday, I'm sorry I couldn't inform you. Some of you were able to participate and others were not able to, but please go in there, and we call it the Nahu in Action, and NIA. Where you practically see what you have learned now in some verses of the Quran and so on. Okay. And Abdul Rafiu Abdul Salam says, please, what are the steps for Edmodo? Because I tried all effort but not able to make use of. Okay. Okay. Abdul Rafiu, I'm sure you would be able to get, I'm sure you are on the platform, the WhatsApp platform. I mean, the Edmodo platform, you can just go through it by the link that I sent on your email. Normally, because I have added this particular batch to the invited participants into my, okay, the time for the, I will share this with you, Abdul Rafi, inshallah. Just get in touch with me later, maybe immediately after this. You have my contact on the WhatsApp group, and then I would take you through that. Mala Abdullah Bai says, what is the time for the evening class? Starts at 8 p.m. GMT. That will be 9 p.m. Nigeria time. Yes, yes, Mr. Brother Usman, this drag and drop thing. I mean, it's quite the last batch also had this issue of drag and drop. I don't know how, but it's just that some people have challenges in it. But you can always discuss that on the platform, depending on the gadgets you are using. You will be told that you don't actually need to drag and drop. All you have to do is to double click inside that box that is having the empty space, and then it will show you the options to select. So it's not all that needs you to drag and drop, particularly if you are using a phone. Okay, Kamal Din says, please, in the Muslim charts, the non-human and the human has the same words. Yes, so yes, so it's my mistake. I'm sure that's why it didn't show in my slides. It's supposed to be kalam. Yes, thank you very much. I need to change this quickly before I send it, right? Yes, the human and the non-human are the same. So it's supposed to be kalamun. And then this one should be kalamani. Kalamani. Okay. And then this one will be aklamun. And then this one would be qalamin. Then this would be qalamani. This is aqlaman. And then this would be, sorry, this is supposed to be qalaman. This would be qalamin. And sure, I have qalamaini. So yes, there's a mistake here. An issue with my okay, the problem with my PPT.